Thank you for taking time to be here with us today. I would kindly request if we could start at 10 minutes past 11. We give some few people time to join us. I can see it's 6 minutes past 11, so we're just giving them like 4 minutes, then we can start. Thank you.
Okay, so.
I'll start. The rest of the team will get us going. And good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this day. We are celebrating 1 year since we launched the Climb for Justice campaign. It has been a journey worth the travel. And I think today what we just want to do is to look back on where we are from and what milestones we have been able to make till now. 1 year is a long time, and it's good for us to take stock of what has been happening throughout the year with regard to Climb for Justice campaign. I am waiting for two panelists who are having challenges with their internet, but I think it would be good for us to proceed, considering so many people have joined us, and they'll find us as we go on. To all participants, you're most welcome, and thank you for taking the time. If you would allow me, I want to welcome you, and you can register on the chat box. Just write your name and where you're listening in from. And also, if you might have any questions that you would want to ask the panelists, the chat box is there. We shall make sure that we respond to questions that are coming in or any concerns that will be raised. I will go straight into introductions, and I will introduce the team of panelists that we have today. We have been honored to have a strong team in this webinar, a team that has walked this journey through and through. The last 1 year, they have been constantly engaging with the coalition with regards to Climb to Justice and all our other programs. And they also summited Mount Kenya on 12th of December, 2019. So we shall also have an opportunity to get to hear some of the adventures that happened when people were summiting. I will start by introducing I'll start by introducing Modoni Wahome. Modoni Wahome is an activist and also a communication expert. She started her career way back, and she has been writing features with several newspapers, including the Standard Group, where she mainly focuses on women's issues. She, of course, moved to the non-for-profit sector, where she has been involved immensely in advocacy and communications work. She started her activism way back in university, where she was a member of the Kimathi movement. And she's one of the people who advocated for the reburial of our freedom fighter, Dedan Kimathi. Mudhoni is very passionate about advocating for women and on reproductive health and sexual health rights. We also look forward to hearing more about that when she'll have an opportunity to talk to us as a discussant. Our next panelist is Patita. Patita Nkumanu is a human rights defender and a conservationist working to coordinate activities within several organizations to amplify Indigenous people's voice on issues of land rights and natural resource management, issues on climate change and community-based conservation. And this she does through training and mostly raising awareness on issues of conservation, and also do a lot, and she also does a lot of advocacy around that work. She has done extensive work on large-scale projects that have been undertaken within the Indigenous people's rights. And of course, on Sunday, we celebrated the Indigenous Peoples Day. And I hope Patita will be able to mention something with regards to that. Also in our panel is Kamau Ngugi. Kamau Ngugi, who is the Executive Director of the Defenders Coalition, an organization that addresses concerns of human rights defenders through the country. And we do this through protection, capacity building, awareness raising, and advocacy. Kamau has worked both at national and international level in human rights organizations. And Kamau also is a part-time lecturer on human rights at the Department of Peace and International Studies at the Daystar University. We are also joined this morning by Kepta Ombati. Kepta Ombati, who is well known amongst us as Kamaradi. Kamaradi is a veteran social justice crusader and a Pan-Africanist at that. We have the pleasure of also having James Mbogwa. And James, if you may allow me to release a secret that not many people want people to know their age. James is actually the oldest amongst the panelists, and he's actually the oldest person, human rights defender that we summited with Mount Kenya last year, December. James is a land rights, human rights defender from Midini area. He has strongly advocated for the realization of human rights in development projects within his area, and he has been a victim of many reprisals and targeted for intimidation and harassment by both state and non-state actors within his area. And as I have mentioned, he made sure that he hoisted the Kenyan flag at the peak of Mount Kenya in December, and it was such an honor to have him amongst us. Amongst our panelists also is Jules Laval. I hope they have joined us. Jules is a freelance filmmaker, a photographer, and a fitness enthusiast who's based in Nairobi. She has worked and continues to advance the realization of the rights of sexual minorities with various LGBTQ organizations in Kenya, and she has been at this since 2015. Jules also specializes in documenting topics on wellness of sexual minorities, including mental health and the society at large in Kenya. We were also very privileged to summit Mount Kenya with Jules. So I think with that, with the introduction of the panelists, I will ask my colleagues to briefly show us a 1-minute video where we will see, we will be able to put into perspective through pictures the journey that has been with regards to Climb for Justice. So colleagues on the technology side. If we are not ready with that clip, I think we can proceed, and when you're ready, maybe you can let me know. Okay, Kamau, unfortunately we can't see you, and I hope you can put your video on so that people are able to see you. Kamau, I would want to give you an opportunity to take us through the journey for Climb for Justice, how it was born, and why Defenders Coalition thought that it would be important to start such a campaign, and also what Climb for Justice campaign is all about, and what it means to the human rights defenders in Kenya and the citizenry at large. So Kamau?
Okay, thank you very much, Gloria, and everyone on board, colleagues, panelists. Thank you for, and also the people who are part of this conversation. I think this is a very exciting day for me to be part of this. It's been exactly 1 year since a team of human rights defenders got together and thought that we need to do something unique in terms of how we do human rights work, but at the same time to see what more we can do beyond what we are used to. But just before I get to specifically to the Cry for Justice, let me just say that Defenders Coalition has been there in the last more than 10 years, since 2007, defending human rights defenders. Our mission also is to champion the safety, security, and well-being of human rights defenders. We actually are a national organization, so we are the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, but recently rebranded as Coalition. So I would say that the whole idea of the Cry for Justice, it was a eureka moment, so to speak, and the panelists here would confirm that we were in the process of developing the strategic plan, our current strategic plan, and it came out clearly that a lot of people wanted to be involved with the work that we do in their different spaces that different. We do great work defending human opportunities for engagement. And therefore, we needed to be creative on how individual citizens can actually participate in the work of supporting human rights defenders. At the same time, we also felt am I still there? Sorry, I think we got disconnected, but I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes, you can hear you, Kamau.
Okay, great. So we also thought that the other conversation was around we need to be creative in terms of how we resource the work for defending human rights. And one of the idea was we need to involve individual citizens. And one of the idea was like, we need something that as an individual, I feel I can be part of, that I can make a contribution. At the same time, I feel I can take part in a cause that I'm convinced is very important. And one of the great idea that came about was, look here, why don't we make an extra effort by walking or for justice? Then people say, look, everyone is walking around. I mean, in Uganda, in other countries, walking is actually a crime, especially if you're driving a good cause. What about we do something much different? And everyone was excited about Crime for Justice. So it's about climbing hills and mountains, and for every step, you're doing it to represent a justice cause. And I can assure you that all participants that have taken part in the various hikes certainly were doing it for the purpose of advancing a particular cause, including the people in this panel. They will give you their stories. But we were also looking at raising funds to support a sustainability of the work of human rights, basically to complement some of the resources we have received from very good partners. But also saying that, why don't we also check on individual Kenyans? How can they make a donation? Can the local philanthropists also put in some money? And therefore, for every hike and Crime for Justice we do, it's also a fundraising activity. And our aim is to basically raise funds enough to establish a center for human rights, for advancing human rights. And that center becomes a hub where human rights defenders can go there, where they can increase their knowledge, where they can do research and document, where they can do a lot of networking, they can develop their talent, and at the same time to enhance as a space where people can advance wellness. So, and we, in our thinking that we say, look here, it's a space where every human rights defender should come and visit and be part of. And therefore we say that we are going to establish a Haki Center. We try to cost it, and a projection for the fact that we thought that if we could raise 50 million, that would be a good start. Maybe that may not be the most ideal, the most modern facility we can build, but we thought that with 50 million, we could set up a facility that can help us do good work. We also thought that this is an opportunity for people to highlight justice causes that they do. So every time we have a crime for justice, it also means that we are advancing a particular human right. We also felt that this is an opportunity for human rights, for Kenyans to take part in advancing the justice cause, like human rights, because most of the time human rights become something peripheral. It's something that is an afterthought for many people. But we say, look here, the Constitution, the laws, our Constitution, our various laws, international conventions, it speaks about what you as an individual, what rights you should enjoy and what protection do you have. And I think we needed to create a conversation around it. And we also felt that it's an opportunity also to celebrate the diversity of us as Kenyans, individuals, the various professional backgrounds we have, but most importantly, our passion. So this is an opportunity that we hope that we're going to create, and we've been successful in exciting and encouraging people to participate. In total, we managed in the last year to participate in more than 4 hikes that were in preparation for the major hike for the major climbing of Mount Kenya, which was our main target. And I can assure you that if we do a total combination of the journey, the steps that we made, we covered over 9 million. We're proud to say we made over 9 million steps, every participant that took part in the Crime for Justice. And we say for every step, it's a step for justice. So you can imagine making almost 10 million statements about the cause for justice. And we hope that this is something that we can continue moving forward. We were still, of course, hoping that we will be able to reach our target, which was 50 million to raise towards the initiative. We were not successful in raising the 50 million because we did it in a very short time. We started the activity on the 13th of August, and by the end of December, we were able to raise 5 million. So that's huge, which is basically 10% of our projection. So you can imagine that moving forward, if we said for every step we make for justice, someone will put in a bob, just 1 shilling for justice. You say by now you would have had more than 10 million, you can imagine. So, or if you multiply that by say, look, I'll not do a bob, I'll do 5 bob or 10 bob, you say that we can reach that target. So we hope that moving forward, we could work with ourselves, people who will commit to do the journey, to walk up various hikes, that we will also have other people backing up the initiative and supporting and say, look, I will not be available to do the crime, but I will be able to support for every, for example, I'm going to support 100 steps, and for every step, I'm going to put my 2 shillings. And you can say that you'll have raised 200 shillings. Another one will say, I'll support the equivalent of 1,000 steps. And that way we can make the dream a reality. So we were able to ultimately get Kenyans that are not who have never defended a right, but they really felt it is important now to take part. And we are proud to say that this became that one initiative that was able to bring people from different backgrounds to participate in various hikes. So The first hike we did at Longonot, Mount Longonot, and it was very exciting. We had a whole team of 60 participants. The next one was at Kiraita, a place called the William Hills, Kiraita. Again, very massive support. A lot of people showed up. And then we did one major hike at the Elephant Hill in the Aberdares. The hikes were both preparatory but also fundraising initiatives. Then the ultimate climb was Mount Kenya. And this is a very exciting part of the journey because none of us is a professional hiker. None of us has, majority of the people that participated were actually participating for the first time in this, both in hiking mountains, but also in the justice cause. But I can assure you that we set off a journey of 30 people to Mount Kenya, and we were able to cover such huge distances. Of course, not everyone was able to summit, but you can assure you that that was the ultimate sacrifice. And we are very, very proud that many people showed up. The biggest support we got was actually from individuals that contributed their monies in terms of 10, some would say 100 shillings. Other people contributed 200,000 shillings. Others were contributing 5,000. Others was 1,000. But at the end of the day, as I said, we have been able to raise 5 million. So that gives me the hope that indeed Kenyans are proud to participate in the justice cause. They are proud of who human rights defenders are. They are proud that human rights defenders are able to stand up for the people that are faced with various forms of violations, that human rights defenders are able to demand accountability for the public resources, that human rights defenders are able to work with the victims to access justice. And that is for me, that has been the biggest stamp of appreciation and recognition of the work of human rights defenders. And for that reason, we'll be moving ahead this year with the same initiative. We indeed started a few hikes. We started off in January at a place called the Kudu Hills in Kajiado. Again, overwhelming support with mostly people from justice centers from across the country being part of it. Then we did another one at Eburu Hills, which was a very exciting journey for the part of the claim for justice. And and there are other activities that are lined up. Our aim was that by October, we should be able to scale the tallest mountain in Africa, which is Mount Kilimanjaro. That dream is not over. With now a little bit of opening up during this COVID period, we're going to continue with this journey, but I'll be talking more about that aim, as you say, again. But at this point, of course, the other panelists who are part of the journey can tell you that there was a lot of excitement. Sometimes we would despair along the way, but then each person would remember that you're not just doing it for fun, you're doing it both for wellness, but also you're doing it for a justice cause. And that kept us going even when we were desperate was just basically surviving, but we kept going because of knowing that for every step we make, that we are affirming that that they deserve justice. So for me, this remains a very critical opportunity. And of course, we still believe that we can raise the funds that are necessary to set up a human rights defenders hub in Kenya that we can all be proud of for sustainability.
Thank you very much, Kamau, for that comprehensive background. At least everybody now is able to understand the journey and know where we are coming from and where we are going. My colleagues have just indicated that they are ready. So Ahmed, you can play the short video. Kupigwa na kupokonywa maisha, hakutatuzuia sisi wananchi kunyakuwa uhuru wetu. Haki, haki ya jasho letu. Tumekataa kupiga magoti mbele ya hawa. Shamba yetu tupiganie uhuru wetu, tuikomboe elimu yetu, utamaduni na viwanda vyetu. Thank you for that. Of course, the background music was not very good for us, but at least it has shown that most of the images that were there, that is the day that we launched the campaign. And as you have seen, we on that day, we had distinguished human rights defenders in this country who came to join us in the Noble campaign, and they have walked the journey with us. Of course, we shall be briefing you as we move along on some of the support that the people that we have just seen on the video and many others have been able to give the coalition. I think for now, I will turn to the panelists and give each of the panelists at least 5 minutes for them just to talk to us and tell us how the journey has been for them as part of being part of the campaign, what the experience has been, especially when we summited Mount Kenya on the 12th of December. But apart from that, the cause behind it, which has been the rallying call behind the campaign, which has been to ensure that we promote and protect human rights in Kenya. What are some of these causes that we have been ensuring when we climb the, when we do the hikes that we have been doing, when we walk the 9 million steps that Kamau has referenced? What is this that we have been advocating for within our communities and the rights that we fight for? And if you may allow me, I will start with Kamaradi Kepta. Kepta, the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to hearing what your experience has been the last 1 year as we journey on. Please unmute. You're on mute.
Thanks very much, Kamaradi Gloria. It's a great pleasure to be part of this great day when we are celebrating the first anniversary of our Climb for Justice, and to be part of this panel. I send my greetings to you and to all the panelists and all the participants today from Kajiado. So I hope that my network will be consistent and that you will be able to hear me. Now, Kamaradi DK has done a very good job in terms of giving background to the Climb for Justice. I want to propose that I begin not by sharing my experience, but by sharing the cause, by sharing the reason why I'm part of that process. And I'll frame my contribution within the 5 minutes in 4 major points. Number one, I'd like to remind ourselves that as we celebrate the first anniversary of climb for justice. It's 1 year since we began this journey. We need to remember also that it's 57 years since Kenya became independent. So on 12th of December this year, we shall be marking the 57th anniversary from 1964. It is also the 10th anniversary of Katiba. August 27th this year will be 10 years since the Constitution. Why are those dates important? They're important because of the subject I'm going to speak to relates very closely to those dates. And I'm speaking to the subject of of governance, transparency, social justice, and movement building. Those are distinct and separate concepts, but they're interlinked. Good governance is broad, but I want to just consolidate it within 3 points. First, in terms of good governance, we think about democratic, transparent, and accountable government. That means it's a system of government in which the leaders yield themselves to be held accountable by the people who freely elect them. So we are supposed to have a social contract between elected representatives or people who are in offices of the state or of government under the terms established by the people. The reason why Kenyans resolved to revolt in mid-1990s and demand for a new constitution is because the government, the successive governments since independence, had strayed away from a social contract in which they will be accountable to the people. So from 1995, from 1990, Kenyans organized themselves to demand for a new dispensation. And that led to the repeal of Section 2A in 1991, which paved the way for multi-party politics. But even after that, it didn't cure the problems. And that's why in mid-1990, from 1995, Kenyans again started remobilizing. And in a revolt, they forced the Kanu Moi government to concede to the demand for a new constitution, to set a new foundation for Kenya's governance. So when we promulgated the new constitution in 2010, it was both an act of revolt and a triumph of the people against a predatory state, a state that was a colonial, a remnant of the colonial legacy, which thrived by preying on its people. So we expected that after 27th of August 2010, we would see a transformation of Kenya from a predatory state to a human rights and a developmental state, where the people's interest, the people's concerns will be at the center of our public policy and of politics. So the second point is that rights and freedoms were supposed to be the cornerstone of the new contract between the people and the leaders that they elected. The third point is that we would see the rule of law as the regulator of relations. And by the rule of law, we understood that there would be predictability and there would be justice for everyone. So 10 years after the new constitution, how does the country look like? Is it different from the country we had before 2010? The truth is that it is not. We have a good constitution, a progressive constitution, a democratic constitution with a very expansive Bill of Rights, which now include the economic and social rights. We have a very elaborate Article 10, which states the national values and the principles, which include human rights and social justice. But the truth is that for the ordinary mwananchi, the country is not significantly different from how it was before 2010. The significance of that is that it means that there will have to be people who will fight for the rights of the people who are marginalized, people who are violated, and people who are excluded from the economic productive activity of the country. And those people are what we call the human rights defenders. So the long and short of it is that the work of the human rights defenders has not become any lighter. Human rights defenders still remain a key resource and a key need for majority of the 53 million Kenyans in this country today who live a life of struggle, people who live unpredictable lives because of the nature of inequalities that we have, and the state that serves the interest of a minority. We remember that J.M. Kariuki, before his unfortunate assassination in 1975, talked about a country of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. At independence in 1964, we had 9.3 million Kenyans. Today, we have 53 million Kenyans. The structure of the economy remains largely the same. It's controlled by a very small group of people at the expense of the majority. So we do not have a democratic government. We do not have a transparent government. We do not have the rule of law. We've seen the executive, for instance, attacking the judiciary consistently, undermining the independence of the judiciary, because the judiciary has stood on the way of the executive in its attempt to reconcentrate power and to control the resources on behalf of the small privileged class of people. So quickly, that leads us to the question of transparency. They say that democracy dies in darkness. A fundamental tenet of a democratic government is that people should have access to information. They should have access to vital information about their well-being, but they should also be able to question public policy, especially when it's not consistent with their needs and with their vision. Transparency demands that appropriation, allocation, and management of public resources must be open. People must know where government is getting its resources from taxation, from borrowing, from a sale of public assets. They should know how they should know and agree how those resources are being allocated, and they should hold the managers of the implementation of projects under those resources accountable. In this country, we have a constitution that envisages such a system of government. But the truth is that is in practice, at both the national level and at the county level, there is great opacity. There is commitment by people in office to make it as difficult as possible for people to access this information and to be able to make meaningful contribution to development. Again, the role of human rights defenders is under underlined by that challenge, because human rights defenders are tasked or are required to help open up those avenues for people's participation and for their voices to count. It's precisely because of those reasons why social justice and human rights becomes very important in 2020. And by social justice, we're talking about equity, we're talking about social mobility, we're talking about economic justice. Precisely because majority of the people are locked out of the productive system. Majority of the people live very precarious lives, what Noam Chomsky calls precariats. People who live at the margins of development. Social justice and human rights has never been more urgent than it is today. So human rights defenders are required to be at the forefront in working with the people to open up avenues for them to be able to access social justice and human rights. So how is this to be done? This can be done either through formal institutions, that's the institutions we've created, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, the devolved governments. But where they fail to provide remedy, where they fail to be avenues for people to access social justice and human rights, then the people under Article 1, because Article 1 of our Constitution is very clear that the sovereign power in this country inheres in the people. The people have the right and indeed the duty to act directly to promote their interests. And one vehicle through which they can do this is through movements. So I am very involved personally in movement building, because it's the recourse that people have for redress and to ensure that their interests, their concerns, their fears, their grievances are addressed through direct action. So movement building is important for continuing the journey for liberation. We fought for political liberation. In 2020, we're in the cusp of a movement, or what I see as the fourth liberation, which is about economic liberation. It is about the advancement of rights and social justice and economic justice. So that's where the importance of movement building comes in. In conclusion, to be able to do that, human rights defenders also become vulnerable to attacks by reactionaries, by those who are benefiting from the predatory state. And that's where the Defenders Coalition is very critical, because it responds to the question, who defends the defender? And the claim for justice is an opportunity to strengthen the Defenders Coalition and the HRD's community to be able to do the work that they are called upon to do as of necessity even better.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kepta. You have put into perspective why we actually need the Wellness Center for Human Rights Defenders, because the work that is there for us in this country, looking back where we are from and where we are going and how things are going in our country, there is need for more human rights defenders to wake up and put their best foot forward. I would like to invite Patita. Patita, for you, I would like you to give us your experience, of course, being part of the campaign for the last year, and for the communities that you are advocating for, and the issues and concerns that you are bringing into perspective. How has it been, and why is Climb for Justice dear to you? And also, with regards to the rights of indigenous persons, what opportunities are there for human rights defenders who are listening, human rights organizations, to support or to support? Please remember you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
All right. I'll try. That means at 12:01 I stop, yeah? Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Gloria? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, let me proceed. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you made Kamaradi go ahead of me because it set the stage and gave the whole history of the Constitution and before independence, post-independence. That is good. He's always good at that now. I'd quickly just want to give a very brief personal journey or account of the last 1 year. I must say, when we began the campaign, at that point, it was many of us. But as we continued to slowly now begin to implement the small activities that we had going to Keraita, going to Longonot, the personal journey now began. And I began to equate that to the work that I do. The challenges that we faced, or rather I faced, the scenarios that would play out when we were hiking and relating it to personal life, especially the challenges. Because we would go out there, we would begin the journey together, but then you have to make this journey by yourself. So the personal struggles, the goals that I had made for myself began to sound real to me. And this particularly I began reflecting on the SGR campaign. This was one of the large-scale projects that were being undertaken within Kajiado and Narok County, where most indigenous, where the communities I work with who are indigenous come from. And it reminded me of this field or something that was just thrust on our faces because the challenges we were used to were mostly national government projects dealing with your own government. But in this particular one, you were dealing with an international, or rather a foreign body, your own government, and then the county. So there were these levels of government where these challenges were cutting across. And when Obino called me yesterday, the two things, when I was writing my notes, two things struck me. That as we celebrate the first anniversary of Climb for Justice, there were two things that to me felt like was something worth celebrating. After struggling and lost half of the battle and had SGR go through Nairobi National Park, had SGR go through people's private land and change the whole land tenure system and change the landscape and change people's way of life so abruptly. We had gone to court and we kept, and the government kept, as Kamaradi was saying, the judicial system was very pro-citizen, but the executive had a way of interfering. The interesting thing is something we went to court 2 years ago. We got a ruling just 3 months ago. And from the interpretation that I got from Okio Mtata, because we intend to now seek further guidance, is that there's a possibility that the ruling we got over the SGR was that two. One, the court ruled that the SGR project was illegally undertaken by the fact that the loan we got from China never landed in this country, but money exchanged hands from the people who gave us the loan to the contractor who was Chinese. So the fact that the money did not come to central bank, go to parliament and appropriate the money effectively, that makes that not a public debt, not a national debt, but it could be an odious debt. I'm told an odious debt could be that you can fix the debt to a regime and it shouldn't really necessarily be paid by all Kenyans. I'm yet to understand, but that is what the lawyer was explaining to us. And that to me was a win. The fact that even after a project has been, or something has been done and it is illegal, we pressed on and continued to seek justice for Kenyans. We continued to show that it is actually possible that even if you go ahead and do the wrong thing, the law, people's voice people will just not let you continue doing the wrong thing. And it could be a lesson that when you're in position of power, do not make those mistakes because people might come back for you many years after. That for me is a gain. The other thing that to me I celebrate today in terms of natural resource management for indigenous people. Oh, I'm a minute, eh?
Yes.
Gloria, can you just give me a minute? I wind up.
Yes, wind up.
A minute, just a minute. Wind up. In terms of natural resource management, we have had the national government trying to alienate indigenous communities from natural resource use. Winnie can tell you about what is happening with where she is in the forest. The same thing is happening. The government wants to cover the Masai Mara, wants to take away Nairobi National Park, and they're alienating the indigenous communities that have given away this land for conservation and for public use. And these are the things that we continue to fight and remind ourselves that if the government alienates these indigenous communities from management of these resources, then they're bound to land into the hands of individuals. So I celebrate the efforts that we have gained, going to court and stopping the government from doing those things, and having the judicial system listening to anybody who goes to court to have their cases heard and given a verdict that is pro communities, that is pro indigenous people and pro citizen. So those two I celebrate as we turn one this year, as we celebrate the anniversary of the campaign. So let me stop there so I give someone else an opportunity to celebrate today.
Okay, thank you very much, Patita, for that brief background. Clearly, the steps that we are making when we say we are climbing for justice, we still have a lot of work to do. There are very many human rights violations ongoing within indigenous populations in Kenya. And I think we have an opportunity to raise our voices, of course, through the Climb for Justice campaign, but as well as other avenues that are there for us to explore to ensure that justice is found for indigenous persons in Kenya. I will now push the ball to Jules. Jules, as I had mentioned, is a sexual minority advocate within the human rights sector. She's also a very strong human rights defender. She summited Mount Kenya on the 12th of December. She has been a big part of the campaign, and would like to hear from you, Jules. What has been your experience the last 1 year in the campaign, and what tickled you to be part of this campaign, and why are you part of the people who are making the 9 million steps just to ensure that human rights in Kenya are promoted and protected? So Jules, you have 5 minutes. I know they're quite short, but please try so that at least we can be able to hear and understand what work you are doing and where we can be of help. Asante.
Wow. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be a part of this. At first, I joined this team as a stranger. I only knew 2 people, and yet there was a group of 28. So it was very overwhelming at first, but just interacting with each one and finding out how dear this cause was to them was very encouraging. At first, I felt like I knew what the cause was, but just from interacting with people, I realized that, well, rather my cause was just one amongst many. I'm not so big on politics, so I don't watch news. I find it a bit depressing and all these things, but the reason this cause was very dear to me was because of the state of our government and how the people of Kenya are exploited by our so-called leaders, and then just finding out, and then also with what some of the petitions the LGBT community are trying to promote and advocate for, the sections of the Constitution that really affect sexual minorities, and this was very, very tough once the High Court denied to declare Section 162 and 165 unconstitutional. As a member of the LGBT community, like it was such a impact on not as an individual only, but even just among friends, among other people who advocate for this. And so when I heard about this campaign and how the human rights defenders are all going to hike Mount Kenya, other than being a fitness enthusiast, was very exciting. I can tell you for a fact that I had a lot of expectations and also a few disappointments. For starters, I didn't expect to lose my temper just from climbing a mountain, but the altitude does that to you. Headaches and muscle pains and not enough sleep. But once you got up there, like it was just a view that could totally humble you and really encourage you. There was also Amze, who was among us. He was 68 years old, and his enthusiasm really, it really motivated me, because you think that you can only do this when you're young, but he was quite an encouragement for me. Meeting Kepta, Gloria, everyone was going at their own pace, and I can advise that being a part of such a campaign can give you a bigger purpose to realize that you don't just live on life in this life. You can definitely stand up for things that mean so dear to you. And one day, I'm sure we will get the petition signed, because we have people like Keta, we have people like Petita, we have the human rights defenders and the climbers for justice who are doing big things to get us a step at a time closer to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
At points, I hope I was not talking too fast. I was trying not to go over my 5 minutes.
No, you are doing very well. We heard you quite loud and clear. And the fact that you have brought out the issue as to why you thought it would be important for you to join the cause, repealing Section 162 of the Constitution. Still, the journey continues, and we hope that sooner rather than later, justice will be found. So the 9 million steps that Kamau has talked about, we shall make them 10 million very soon, so that some of our causes can actually be met. I will move straight to Modoni. I find it very weird to call you Modoni. I'm quite used to calling you Paj. Modoni will, of course, like everybody else, give us her experience climbing Mount Kenya, but of course, give a lot of emphasis on why she was climbing Mount Kenya, and especially her passion on women, children, and sexual rights of the people that she works with, and why she thought that that was a good opportunity for her just to raise her voice. So Paj, karibu sana. We are looking forward to hear your experience.
Thanks, Gloria. Well, my joining the mission to climb Mount Kenya and to support the coalition was actually, I was doing it because initially, for me, it was a fun activity. I love outdoors, I love exercising. So I saw an opportunity for me to join along and do what I love doing. Until when we were at Keraita at William Hill, when after the climb, after the completion of the walk or the climb, when DK reminded us after the rocky climb that every step that we took, every pain that we went through was because of the human rights defenders. That it was until that moment that I had a reflective moment personally as to why this was important. Before that, it was just a fun activity. Yes, and close to heart is human rights work. And I'm very passionate about advocating for women and women issues. So until that moment, I sat and thought to myself, why are we doing this? Why should we do this? Why should we join hands with others? And also the fact that I got to know about coalition's work and their protection of human rights defenders and why this cause was important. So I tied that together, and all through the mission, the claims that we did before submitting on Kenya, that is what I sat and I had every moment I had to look back and say, this is why this is important. This is why we need to spread this message to others. This is why we need to push what we do. And I was also lucky because my employer, who is Hivos, came along, and there were sponsors, were part of the sponsors of the mission. And for that, I benefited, if I would say that, to climb through my employer, who believes in social justice and environmental justice. If I could just speak to one thing in relation to women and reproductive health, I would urge people to look at the Reproductive Health Bill of 2019, which has been tabled by Susan Kihika and which has received a lot of backlash. The Reproductive Health Bill was first tabled in 2014 in Parliament and has never managed to go through because of only one issue, which people choose to focus, which is abortion. And yet the reproductive bill tackles more than that. It talks about safe motherhood, contraceptives, male involvement, infertility. Yeah, so these are the policy issues that take us backward as individuals, as women. How do you become an equal member of the society, yet everything is being battled down your way? Something else I would like us to reflect on is something that has been happening since the lockdown, the teenage pregnancies. We've seen the girls being blamed for getting pregnant. In Kajiado, we saw that initiative called Funga Miguu Initiative, which is very retrogressive. These are the things that every day we need to think about. What can we do to make a better place? What can we do together as members of the society? And yeah, and I'm thankful to be part of this, and for the coalition for standing behind the challenges that human rights defenders go by every day. And I plan to continue with this work until, well, death does us apart. Hakuna kupumzika kwa mwana harakati. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Paj. Again, you give us a dose of things that we need to focus our minds on. Yes, the Reproductive Health Bill, an important law that we need to focus our energies on and do a lot of advocacy around it, just to ensure that reproductive health in Kenya is also given priority as other issues are. So I think our listeners and human rights defenders who concentrate on reproductive health and health in general, that is something that we need to refocus our energies on. And of course, we know what the pandemic has done. We have had so many cases of teenage pregnancies. A lot of work, again, just needs to be done around that. Talking to our children, and above all, just ensuring that they are catered for, because whatever has happened, so we need to face it. And I think support is needed on the ground. I know there are human rights defenders who are on the ground working on this, so it would be important for us to join hands and just ensure that at the end of the day, justice is found for these young teenagers who have found themselves in the predicaments they are in. Last but not least, I want to give this opportunity to James Mbogwa. As I had indicated when I was introducing him, he's one of the oldest member who summited Mount Kenya. And James has been through a lot. He comes from Mithini. He has been harassed. He has been intimidated. because he has chosen to ensure that he fights for the right of his community. So James, I will give you an opportunity just for you to tell us how your experience was when we climbed Mount Kenya, and also why you will do this again when we are summiting the next course that we are hoping to do. So James, tafadhali, sakafu ni yako.
Asante. Jina langu James Mugai. Miaka yangu niko na miaka 59. Nikiwa na miaka 59 nilipanda mlima juu ya sinda, na sinda ile tuko nazo nyumbani kwetu. Serikali chief anatuharasi sana. Hakuna mtu yoyote anapata shamba yake inaingiliwa. Mashamba yetu inaingiliwa na chief. Wanatoa watu nje, wanakuja wanaushia watu, tukakamatwa. Coalition ndio wanafuatilia sisi. Hata coalition sijui kama wamerara juu ya midhine. Midhine tuko na sinda. Na ile sinda tuko naso ni za mashamba letu. Mashamba letu ilisukua, na ikasukua ni chief mwenyewe ndio anatoa watu pande ya Nyandarua, wengine upande tena wakaingia huko polisi, Makuyu polisi, wakashikana pamoja. Hata tukifanya kitu tukienda huko hakuna usaidizi yoyote. Usaidizi ule tunapataga unatokaga kwa coalition, na hawa watu wa Human Rights Coalition sijui kama wamerara juu ya midhine. Na midhine tuko na sinda kwa vile mashamba yetu yote. Hata leo, siku ya leo, sifu wako na mkutano, anachukua watu 9, anasema hao mashamba saa hii ataenda anausia watu wengine. Hao watu tutahamisha, tutaenda wapi? Na wasasi wetu tumesaliwa hapo. Mama yangu ako na miaka 130. Na ndio nilisaliwa huko. Mimi niko na miaka 69. Tunaelekea wapi? Tupeo title ndi hii sinda itoke. Ndio tukipata title, hata community atakuwa wamekaa wamefurahi. Sasa sinda ile tuko nayo ni hiyo. Wasee wa kijiji, hata kwetu tena hatuna hata moja. Hata wale tulichagua ndio kwanza wanaingilia sisi, kama huyu anaitwa okay. Sasa sifu ndio na harasi yani mambo yetu yote. Sijui kama hii sifu aliandikwa ni serikali, aliandikiwa watu, ama aliandikiwa anyanyashe watu. Tafadhalini, mimi naomba kotini. Juzi kuna mwingine aliuo. Hata tukienda huko hakuna kitu inaendelea. Hata ukienda polisi, ile maombi tuko nayo. Hata hapa niko na parua, niko naso. Hii parua tukiomba usaidizi. Hii parua niko naye. Tulikuwa tunaagana na Nurhanj atatutembelea, na akitutembelea hii parua ndio tuko na vitu mingi tunaonyeshana ya huko nyumbani. Sinda ile tuko naye ni ya samba. Tukipata title sinda yote imeisha. Ndio turalie, tunaomba, nikaomba Director Kamau mtufanyie tupate hii mashamba, tupate mataito, tuliwasho ni wasasi wetu, na hiyo masinda watoto wetu watakuja tena apate hiyo masinda. tunaomba hiyo shamba ya Medhine. Medhine ilikuwa ground ya serikali, na kuna wale waliingia wakaanja kusema hiyo shamba wamenunua, na hawakununua, ni sisi na alikuta wasasi wetu huko. Hao tunaomba ndio wakunje watusaidie, tukipata hii shamba tupate title deed. Tukipata title deed mlima nilipanda. Mlima nilipanda juu ya ile shinda iko Medhine. Kwa vile Medhine tuna shinda mingi. Kunyanyaso ni wa hii Andre Milson unaitwa police nini headman chief police kutoka Makuyu. Tukakamatwa kila siku. Kama mimi juzi nilikuwa mimi nakamatwa nikiwa nafuatilia mwanamke mwingine. Nikimfuatilia na mimi nikaenda nikawekwa ndani. Kuwekwa ndani nilimaliza miaka ngapi? 2 coalition. Ndio wanakimbiza, sijui kama hawa watu wa coalition, na Mungu unaweza saidia watu wa coalition waongeshe ndio wapate, ndio wakawa wanakimbishana na masikini ya Mungu na wanafuatilia masikini ya Mungu. Nikipenda kuambia wengine Medhine, watu wa Medhine, tukifuatilia hawa watu wa coalition tutapata title deed. Tuombe tupewe title deed. Kuna shida na hawa watu, sijui watu wa coalition sijui kama wamerara. Usiku ukisikia saa 8 ya usiku mimi napiga simu, kujeni na saa hiyo. Hata juzi kuna mwingine leo wako kotini. Kuna semekana mtoto alikata miti, na hiyo mtoto hakukata miti, ni kunyang'anywa nguo ile umeweka kwa mwili yako, ndio unakunja ikauswa ni mwingine. Wewe utoe hiyo, akunja kutoa hiyo nguo aende nacho. Sasa wewe utapaki na nini? Utapaki rusi.
Okay. James, asante sana. Asante sana. Umetuambia vizuri kwa nini ulipanda mlima, lakini ile yenye ninafurahi ni kwamba kila mtu ambaye anakusikiza sasa hivi anaelewa ni shida gani watu wa Mithini wanapitia, na ile kitu mzuri ni kwamba wewe na wengine katika community mumesimama imara, munapigania hizo haki, na vile umesema kikweli Defenders Coalition haitawawacha, tutashinda, tumepigana na nyinyi, na kama kawaida yetu huwa hatupiganii peke yetu, tunaleta wengine on board, alafu tunasaidiana kuona kwamba haki za watu zimeshughulikiwa. Kwa hivyo ya kwanza ni kukushukuru sana kwa umri wako mzee, uliweza kustahimili yote Mount Kenya. Mimi hata nilishindwa, lakini wewe ulijikaza ukafika kule juu. Kwa hayo tumeshukuru, na efforts zako hazitaenda hivyo. Watu wa Mithini mtapata title na mtaishi kule kwa amani na harassment itaisha. Tutapigana vilivyo tuweze kuona ya kwamba haki zenu zimeweza kuangaliliwa. Kwa hivyo asante sana sana sana. Tumeshukuru. Aya. I will now give Kamau an opportunity. Kamau had already taken us through the scorecard, what we have been able to achieve so far. I will quickly give Kamau 3 minutes to tell us what the next steps are with regards to Climb for Justice, what to expect, and what plans we have moving forward. And then I will again take over and give us a brief on some of the partners that we have been working with very closely in this, and wrap it up. And if there are any questions, I think this is also an opportunity that you can use the chat box to ask us anything. Kamau, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gloria. I know we are using the title celebrating 10 years since the Crime for Justice, but looks like James have reminded us the struggle remains, that we need to really, it's not yet celebration time. It's just the justification to continue doing the defending human rights. And just before I go to summarize what with next steps, James who is a 69-year-old, he has highlighted for himself. He's one man that gave me the motivation to take the next step, because when we were almost giving up, when it was getting tough, hiking Mount Kenya and even William Hills, because he was there, he's one man, you know, he's old, but he was saying, look here, young man, because he was calling me young man, I thought I'm old. And he was saying, young man, if you knew what I've gone through, you will not sit back and give up. So he kept reminding me to make the step, and he reminded, and I think he connected with everyone. The Mithini is the community is a small community, but they have very productive land here in Ninia Makuyu in Murang'a County. And what has happened is that the original owners have basically been dispossessed land, and the land have actually been sold. Titles were recently issued as recent as I think in 2018, no, in 2018, when the title deeds there. So there are people who have been issued with title deeds. How the title deed was gotten and new owners allocated the land, when their families and ancestors are still there, is unknown. So what has been happening, the so-called new owners of the land have been harassing the original owners. They have been using the provincial administration and the police and the judicial system to harass them. So there are several of them, like James has more than 5 cases pending in court. Some of them have been concluded. There are everyday people are arrested and then they're intimidated. A majority now have run away because they are unable to sustain that state of harassment. So we really, he has appealed to the office of the DPP not to entertain this form of harassment through the judiciary. And I hope that the ODPP will listen to their call and hopefully have a conversation with James and the squatter so that that issue is resolved, so that people don't abuse the justice system to harass innocent people. I think the panelists have already highlighted the key achievements of the campaign. Kepta has already mentioned the motivation is that human rights defenders are doing a lot of great work, but they are faced with serious challenges. As you can tell from the video, it's not a simple job. It's always been, it's pain, it's sweat, but it also calls for determination to make the next step. And everyone who have participated in the Crime for Justice has been making a step knowing that he is speaking on behalf of many other people, very many people. We're proud to say that, for example, in Logonaut, we had 56 people that joined, but hundreds more were able to tweet and participate in the Cry for Justice, and others were able to fund. We've been quite successful in that support. William Hill, we had 78 people who joined the campaign. At Elephant Hill, we had 94 people who signed up. In Kunu Hills, we had 123 people. And at Mount Kenya, we had 31 people that participated. But the most important thing was that more people sent us resources that has been able to go towards this initiative. I want to take this opportunity to thank each person that has managed to put a coin, but most importantly, that to everyone who participated in the process, to tell them that because of their work, more people are able to understand the work of human rights defenders, and more people are taking the risk and say, we are going to defend the Constitution and the laws of Kenya, and we are going to defend our country. So more people are becoming human rights defenders because they have seen now what it means to make change in their own communities. We are proud to say that because of the support we have received, we're able to intervene more for human rights defenders at risk. Mzee James has highlighted how many times we have had to send a lawyer when they are arrested at night, just to make sure that justice is, that they get justice. We've been able to intervene for him and many other human rights defenders when they are persecuted because of standing for the truth. So because of the support you have sent us, we've been able to participate in campaigns. For example, at most of our informal sector, the youth are being killed, mostly by the police, extrajudiciary, without being taken to court. We've been able to support those human rights defenders that speak out and to say, please follow the due process. And we have been able to speak out and stand with communities in our country that are left behind. Minority groups, indigenous people, LGBT persons, people that in our society we refuse to acknowledge that they are human beings and they have rights and they have to be protected and defended. It is for this reason that we say that every coin individuals have put there is important, and the 5 million is something that we really appreciate. Your time, your coins, your tweets are very critical for us, who we really appreciate. But I would like specifically to take also this chance to recognize because we had various categories of resourcing, and some of the people that were able to put quite some amount in this, I really want to recognize them. For example, the Open Society Foundation have been able to put some resources into this. Thank you very much. The AJWS, which is the American Jewish World Service, we receive from from private companies that advance justice, but while doing business. For example, FarmBridge supported our work. Urgent Action Fund, HIVOS, East Africa. We received support from the Embassy of Belgium. We received support from Gays and Lesbian Coalition of Kenya. We received from an individual, Mr. Charles Dairo, the Faculty of Advocates in Scotland, the International Justice Mission, and other partners put in their resources into this. And there are other people, individuals that have sent a coin, 1,000 shillings, $1,000 we have received, and we really appreciate. There are other people who have bought t-shirts with the law, the cry for justice, have bought our merchandise. This is very critical. This is ways in which you can still participate in the cry for justice by buying one of the many merchandise that we have. We have t-shirts, we have other things that we use for the campaign. But more specifically, we have recognized that we have to move on with the campaign. Our ultimate is to hike to climb Mount Kilimanjaro moving forward. And very soon, coming Saturday on the 15th, we are going to Gong Hills, and we invite you to take part in the hike. It will be on the 15th and 15th of August, this coming Saturday. We hope that you can be part of the Crime for Justice to Gong Hills. It's very, very important, and because for every step that you make, will be very, very critical for justice. Moving on, we'll still also be having other hikes. On the 12th of September, we'll be having a hike at the Elephant Hill in Aberdares. And on 20th of October, we'll celebrate human rights defenders through what we call the Mashujaa Festival. At the end of the day, we hope we can raise 50 million. I believe that every coin matters. As we have said, if you could say that, if you could say that for every step a human rights defender who joined in the campaign, that you're going to contribute 50 shillings or 100 shillings, you can imagine for that can contribute a lot towards the setting up a home for human rights defenders, so that people like James, who have spoken here, will feel part and parcel of the great movement of seeking justice and good governance in Kenya.
Thank you very much. Come on.
I think very quickly, just to say again, that there are many ways in which you can participate. So you can register to hike the mountain. We make contributions towards the hike. So part of it goes to the cost of the hike, but the other cost goes to support this initiative. You can sponsor someone to participate in the hike if you're not available, but you can also send directly your donation towards the cause. But also we invite people to volunteer their time to support this initiative. You can do so, you can tweet, you can write about it, but also you can also help us connect with the people that are likely to support the initiative. So I can call on my colleagues to continue doing that video that highlights some of the great moments during the campaign of the year. We have produced a book that will, for posterity, we want people to say, we want to maintain and to keep some of these photos. They'll be available for sale in the office so that at least anyone who has participated in a crime for justice can access the book. You need to keep it as part of the certificate, together with the certificate, in appreciation of the work that you have done. So this book will be available, and my colleagues will be showing it. It has the most memorable moments for you and me, and I think it would be great for you to get one. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kamau, for informing us of the next steps and how we can still support this campaign. As you have rightly mentioned, on Saturday, we are going to hike Ngong Hills. Of course, the pandemic did not spare the campaign. We were also greatly affected, but what we have tried to do to the best of our ability is to ensure that we are following all the set guidelines by the Ministry of Health with regards to public gathering. We have also put other measures in place just to ensure that even as we go to Ngong Hills on Saturday, everybody will be protected. We shall do our best to ensure that PPEs are provided, especially the ones that we shall need there, but also just putting into place measures that have been set by the government. Because I can see time is not on our side, if you will allow me, I have seen a couple of, not questions, but actually comments and encouragements from all of us who have joined us, encouraging us for the good work. Asanteni, we can see that in the chat box. And Alice Karanja specifically, we actually meet on Saturday and not next month. Next month again we meet, but let us meet on Saturday as we are going to climb Ngong Hills. I thank you very much to everybody who managed to join us. I hope we have gotten a glimpse of what the campaign is all about, what milestones we have been able to have in the past 1 year, and what we are looking to achieve moving forward. This is an effort that will need all of us to be part of. So we call on all of you to be part of the campaign, to support us where you can, and also to join us as we continue to rally on with the campaign. We shall definitely keep you posted with regards to summiting Mount Kilimanjaro. Very many uncertainties, but we are trying to see how best we can go about that. Visit our website for more information. And if you have any questions, kindly send an email to defenderscoalition.org, and we shall definitely respond. To our panelists, asanteni sana for making time to be with us and just sharing your experiences and also encouraging others to be part of the campaign, because we are doing this for a cause. Kwa hayo mengi, ninasema asante, and may you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Enjoy yours too.
Thank you, Glo. Thanks everyone. Na pamoja, tuendelee na mapambano.
Pamoja.
Tuendelee.
It's tough.
This is tougher than you thought.
The climb is tough.
That was a tough one. bado huko chini manze. Watafika.
Ndio. That's the
Mudhoni, great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Let's do this all over again.
Yes, yes, yes. Memories. Watching those videos have brought back memories and memories.
Powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
The pain was temporary. The memory is forever.
Yes.
Very
we have to
true,
do this
Captain.
again.
Yes.
We need to do this again, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
We have to do it.
Kamarani Glow, thanks very much, Kamarani DK.
Alikuwa anapotea huko.
Viva to you.
It's
My
James
friend,
Ataya.
Kamarani James. Poa poa, pamoja, mapambano tuendelee.
Asante sana James.
Mashamba yetu
Good job.
tutayakomboa, nchi yetu tutaikomboa, wamama wetu tutawakomboa, afya zetu tutazikomboa. Climb for justice.
Viva!
Viva!
Haya, sawa.
Haya, kwa irini basi, tuonane
Asante.
Jumamosi.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Jules, see you on Saturday.
Saturday. Boy,
Yes. Can you hear me, all of you?
Yes, but Obino is misleading us. He's telling us to meet on Google Hangouts.
Okay.
Tell him we are here.
Oh, he's coming there. He's there, Omar. Also.
Emma, boss.
Fancy Kamau has left. Sioni Salome has left. Can somebody tell them to get them can somebody tell them to get back? We evaluate. And then Ahmed. Ahmed.
Yes.
I can see we are still live on Facebook and we are still recording. Maybe you can stop.
Thank you, Gloria, for reminding.